Joined here now with Dr. Heather Larkin. She is one of the 4 finalists for the position of Superintendent of the New Bedford Public Schools. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Paul.
The first question I have to ask is, why on earth would you want to be the superintendent of the New Bedford Public Schools? Because it seems to me that it's so challenging.
It is challenging, and a job of this magnitude isn't for the faint of heart, but I think I really have the experience in New Bedford that it takes. I think you have to know New Bedford and love New Bedford to be able to look at this challenge and say, I can do this. I want to do this because we have to do this. So I've always wanted to be in New Bedford. You know, I took a little hiatus for a little while. At the time, I wasn't very happy about leaving New Bedford, but now I see what opportunity it gave me. I was able to see 2 different districts, ways that they did things other than how it's done in New Bedford, learn from that and be able to come back and say, yes, we can do that, or we should be doing that, or you know what, New Bedford does that better. So I learned a lot, and I learned that New Bedford's where I want to be. And having been assistant superintendent in New Bedford for almost 8 years, I know the challenges, and I know what I'm up against, and I'm ready for it.
It's no secret that a lot of teachers and principals have left the district over the last few years, big disagreements with the present administration, and some have said that the morale is really, really low as a result. What's your approach going to be to try to correct that?
Well, you know, I think this is a very important area. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people have left, and I think that is part of the reason why the New Bedford Public Schools hasn't really been able to gain that traction to be able to show continued improvement, because every time somebody leaves, you have to start over again. And all the professional development that was put into place, all the training, that's gone. It's gone to some other district that is reaping the benefits. So, you know, I think attraction and retention of staff is huge. And you're not going to be able to do that if the morale isn't good, because people talk. And so one of the things that I think is very important in building morale is treating people the way that you want to be treated, making sure that every single day your staff are excited to be at work because they feel valued, they are supported, they know that whoever's downtown or whoever their building principal is supports them to the nth degree. And that helps to build morale. But I think we also need to look at strategies to improve motivation of students, of staff, of everyone. You know, I played college sports. I'm very competitive. I love competition. And, you know, I think that there's some ways we did it back in the day with Where Are You Headed? We had attendance competitions. And it just gave that little extra oomph to the day, because not every kid is going to want to sit in front of a classroom and learn mathematics every day. They need something more. And so I think that instilling some sort of fun and engaging activities along with continuing with all of the rigorous work that they've been doing over the past several years, it's important, but there has to be a balance. Accountability is very important, and I think people need to hold themselves accountable. I think that administrators need to hold people accountable, absolutely, just like we're holding our kids accountable. But I don't feel that the people that are in higher levels need to do it in a way that crushes people, that crushes their spirit, that crushes their desire to want to do a good job. I want my people to be happy and to be willing to come to work and give it everything they've got every single day.
I had an educator once tell me that if you don't have discipline, you don't have anything, because you can't teach the kids who are behaving with all of the misbehavior going on. We've seen cases of teachers having to put up with F-bombs and being flipped off and tables being tipped over. And they say that this administration hasn't really backed them in terms of having consequences. What is your approach to discipline?
I truly think that discipline means to teach. And I think that if schools are not upholding the code of conduct, are not consistent in their follow through, then, and the consequences aren't meaningful, it's not going to teach kids what they need to know. And I think that it all starts from the minute they walk through our doors in preschool. And teachers have a very tough job of teaching curriculum, but at the very beginning, they have to set the expectations. What does it mean to be a student in my class? What are the expectations? What behaviors are appropriate? What behaviors aren't appropriate? Not all kids get that prior to coming into school. So that's where it starts. But then as you move on, if that inappropriate behavior continues, the administration has to back the teachers. No teacher should come to work being in fear of their students. And I think that it's very important that that is taken very seriously, because it becomes a safety issue. And without safety, there is no positive school climate. You can have as much fun as you want in the classroom, but if there's no safety and that's not in place, it's all for nothing. Your teacher was right, whoever told you that.
Well, I've had teachers also say that there's too much testing going on. You have this test, and you have that test, and you have this other test, and then next year they change it again to another test. Do you think there's too much testing, and how do you balance that out in terms of trying to find out what the student has learned?
So, there's not much we can do about the state's testing, right? But I think that there's some things that we can do about the testing that we choose to do within the district. And that would definitely be an area that I would be looking at and working with teachers and principals to determine, is every single formative assessment that we're providing our kindergartners on up, is it meaningful? I truly believe that sometimes we put things into place and we do things because it's what was expected for this or for that. But at the end of the day, is it meaningful? Are all those formative assessments really providing us with data to help move our students, to help them to grow? If it's not, then what's the point? We need to give teachers time to teach. And that's what I'm hearing from teachers, is they don't have the time to teach because they're testing so much. So testing is important. We need to be able to gather information on where they're at and what they need to do. But I think we can look at that.
Sometimes a district will go out of the area to get a superintendent. We have a couple of superintendent candidates that are from the area, you being one of them, a couple from out of town. There seems to be some differing arguments about whether we should go out of town to get a superintendent. You're kind of a local candidate. Do you think that gives you an advantage?
I think everybody is entitled to their opinion. But like I said before, you have to know New Bedford to love New Bedford. And I do. And I think that the 17 years experience that I've had makes me better prepared. And the fact that I am right down the road at Greater New Bedford Voc Tech gives me an advantage, because I don't have to wait until July 1. I don't have to wait until my contract's up. I can start meeting with people, with community partners after school in the evening, on weekends. I'm here. And that's what I would do. I wouldn't wait. There's no point in waiting, because it wouldn't be fair to the educators for me to wait till July 1st and have to catch up. I want to be on the ground, running, ready to go, doing it all.
Well, you are a finalist. You're in the Final Four. Can you sum up in our final moments why you are the best of the Final Four? Why should you be selected as the superintendent?
I want to be the superintendent in New Bedford because I feel like I have so much to offer. And like I had said earlier, having gone to different schools, I've learned different things. And, I never truly understood the value that a vocational technical education can provide to kids. So one of the things that I would do that I think is so important, not just for the students, but for the city of New Bedford and building a stronger workforce, is finally, after years and years, being able to collaboratively work with Greater New Bedford Voc Tech and New Bedford High School to look at what are some options that the high school has to teach kids those things, to give kids that maybe aren't college bound skills where they can go into the workforce and be productive. And so, I think looking at everything, graduating from high school is the beginning for kids. It has to be the foundational beginning. But that piece of paper that they leave with, I want it to be meaningful. I want it to be backed with the academic excellence that they need to get into any college or university of their choice. But if that's not their choice, then what are we providing them to put them in an optimal position for their future?
Well, Dr. Heather Larkin, thank you for taking a few moments to speak with us here, and we wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you so much.